Welcome to the Explainer. Okay, today we're stepping way beyond the marketing hype, the flashy packaging, and those fleeting influencer trends. We're getting straight into the clinical reality of the beauty industry. Using the really comprehensive curriculum from AKSUMIA Global Learning Solutions, or AGLS, we're going to explore the true, evidence-based science of skin, hair, and nail care. So if you're ready to trade in those beauty myths for biological facts, you're in exactly the right place.
So, let me ask you a serious question. Do you actually know the science behind your skincare? Because let's be real, the beauty space today is incredibly crowded, it's often super confusing, and sometimes it's pretty poorly regulated. Consumers and professionals alike are just constantly bombarded with these miraculous claims. But what modern clients actually need, and quite frankly what the industry demands right now, are clinical, evidence-based solutions that are grounded in rigorous science.
All right, let's dive right into this. To understand where the industry is heading, we've got to talk about cosmeceuticals. These are products that perfectly bridge the gap between your standard everyday cosmetics and actual pharmaceuticals. They don't just sit there on the skin. They're formulated with evidence-based active ingredients. Think retinoids for cellular turnover or peptides for collagen support that actively change how the skin functions. This is exactly the level of academic and scientific rigor we're exploring today.
Now, to make this dense, 15-module CPD-accredited curriculum digestible, we've broken it down into 5 logical pillars. We're going to look at the science of beauty, physiology, the human canvas, cosmetic chemistry, designing regimens, and finally, ethics, safety, and compliance.
Let's kick things off with pillar number 1, the science of beauty. We're moving from basic product knowledge to true clinical expertise. And making that transition to true clinical expertise requires a highly multidisciplinary approach. You're combining dermatology, chemistry, and biology. And honestly, that takes real dedication. Just look at this number, 65. That is the total number of rigorous training hours in the AGLS short course. This is definitely not a quick weekend seminar. It's a blended learning experience split between live online sessions, self-paced study, and really comprehensive testing. It's a serious academic commitment designed to elevate professionals to a clinical standard.
Which brings us to pillar number 2, physiology, the human canvas. Understanding skin, hair, and nails at a biological level. Because, you simply can't treat the canvas if you don't understand how it works. Take transepidermal water loss, or TEWL. This is the physiological process where water passively evaporates right out through the skin barrier. Understanding TEWL is absolutely critical. If your skin's acid mantle is disrupted or your microbiome gets out of balance, your TEWL increases. And the result, you get those visible signs of dehydration, flakiness, and sensitivity. You just can't fix dry skin if you don't understand how it's losing water in the first place.
Now, this biological understanding relies heavily on the fascinating overlap of 2 distinct fields. On one side, you have medical dermatology, which is all about diagnosing and treating clinical skin diseases. And on the other, cosmetic dermatology, which focuses on aesthetic management and barrier repair. But the magic really happens right in the middle. Conditions like acne, hyperpigmentation, and photoaging sit squarely in that overlap. Treating them requires seamless interdisciplinary collaboration, blending solid medical knowledge with incredibly precise cosmetic application.
And this biological foundation applies just as heavily to hair. Hair has its own distinct biological rhythm. It starts in anagen, the active growth phase, moves through catagen and telogen, and finally reaches exogen, which is the shedding phase. Knowing these phases has huge clinical implications. It helps professionals distinguish between totally normal daily shedding and clinical hair loss, while also understanding exactly how genetics, ethnicity, and even daily stress can impact scalp health.
Let's move to pillar number 3 and see how this builds. Cosmetic chemistry and formulation. We're demystifying exactly what's in your bottle.
Because every single product on your shelf relies on functional chemistry. Think of it a lot like baking a cake. You need specific ingredients to perform specific jobs. Surfactants like sodium lauryl sulfate are your cleansers. They create that foaming action that lifts away dirt. Humectants like glycerin act as little water magnets to hydrate the skin. Emollients smooth out the texture by filling in the tiny microscopic gaps between skin cells. And preservatives, they are absolutely vital for preventing microbial growth and keeping your products safe from spoiling.
A perfect example of this cosmetic chemistry in action is sun protection. There are 2 main types of UV filters, and they act totally differently. Physical filters, like zinc oxide, literally sit right on top of the skin and reflect UV rays away, which makes them fantastic for sensitive skin. Chemical filters, like avobenzone, take a different route. They actually absorb the rays and convert them to heat. The upside there is you get a much lighter texture without that dreaded white cast. Understanding this chemistry is literally your best defense against photoaging and pigmentation caused by UVA and UVB radiation.
All right, moving to pillar number 4, designing evidence-based regimens. This is where we translate the science into daily practice. This is where the rubber meets the road. An evidence-based sequence really matters. We go from cleansing to toning, moisturizing, exfoliating, and protecting. But it's not just about haphazardly slapping products on your face. It is entirely about pH balance and compatibility. For example, if you're layering active ingredients, like vitamin C in the morning for antioxidant protection and retinol at night for cellular repair, you have to manage exactly how they interact. Otherwise, you end up completely overwhelming and compromising your skin barrier.
Now, what's really interesting here is busting one of the biggest beauty myths out there. Do oils actually moisturize? The scientific answer is no, they occlude. Oils form a protective seal over the skin to trap existing water inside, but they do not introduce any new water to the skin. True hydration requires humectants. If you put oil on dehydrated skin without a humectant underneath it, you are literally just sealing in the dryness.
So when that skin barrier inevitably gets stressed, whether that's from overexfoliation, strong retinoids, or just harsh weather, you need what the AGLS course calls barrier reinforcing heroes. We're talking ingredients like ceramides, niacinamide, panthenol, squalene, and fatty acids. These ingredients are chosen specifically for their ability to restore the stratum corneum, literally rebuilding the lipid mortar that holds your skin cells together.
Which leads us to our final pillar, number 5, ethics, safety, and compliance. The absolute rules of professional cosmetic care.
Being an expert means knowing how to apply all this science within strict professional boundaries to protect the consumer. Ethical practice means adhering to truthful labeling using international NCI standards. It means avoiding greenwashing, making a product seem way more eco-friendly than it truly is. It also requires inclusive shade ranges, culturally sensitive care, and absolute strictness regarding hygiene and infection control. Professionals have to navigate regulatory frameworks from authorities like the FDA or KEBS, and they carry a massive ethical responsibility to avoid fear-based marketing.
And AGLS ensures this knowledge actually sticks. Remember that 65 we talked about earlier for the training hours? Well, here is another incredibly important number, 80. That is the percentage score required to pass the post-test and actually earn the CPD-accredited certificate. It proves that this curriculum is a rigorous academic pursuit. It's not just some casual beauty tutorial, it is a true certification of clinical competence.
So, the crucial point is this core mission of the AGLS curriculum. Transform your knowledge, advance your career, become a leader in evidence-based cosmetic science. It's a powerful call to action to elevate the entire industry standard from basic guesswork to guaranteed scientific methodology. Which leaves us with one final thought as we wrap up this explainer. Ask yourself, are you ready to elevate your cosmetic expertise to a clinical standard? Because whether you're a healthcare professional, a beauty practitioner, or just a highly invested consumer, understanding the true science of skin, hair, and nails changes absolutely everything. Thanks so much for joining me to deconstruct the science of beauty. And remember, always keep questioning what's in your bottle.